What if I told you that the strongest man who ever lived was defeated not by an army, not by a monster, not even by chains, but by his own heart? This is not just a story about strength. It's a story about desire, pride, betrayal, and redemption. Tonight, we step into the dust and fire of ancient Israel, into the life of a man chosen before he was born, a man whose strength could tear lions apart, but whose weakness would bring down a nation's enemies and himself. This is the story of Samson. And before we begin, stay until the end, because Samson's final moment might completely change how you see failure. A child promised by fire. Israel was suffering. For 40 years, the Philistines ruled over them, ruthless, powerful, oppressive. Israel cried out, but heaven seemed silent. Then, in a small village called Zorah, a barren woman received a visitor, an angel. The angel told her something impossible. You will give birth to a son. He will begin to deliver Israel. But this child would not be ordinary. He would be a Nazirite, set apart to God from birth. No wine, no unclean thing, no razor would ever touch his head. His hair would be the sign of his covenant, a visible symbol that his strength came from God. When the angel ascended in flame before her and her husband Manoah, they fell to the ground in awe. A deliverer was coming, and they would call him Samson. The lion in the vineyard. Samson grew, and with him grew something dangerous, strength. The Spirit of the Lord would rush upon him, and power would surge through his veins. But Samson was not quiet. He was not cautious. He was impulsive, drawn to danger. One day, walking through vineyards toward a Philistine town, a lion leapt from the shadows, roaring, teeth flashing, no weapon, no shield, no armor, just hands. And Samson tore the lion apart. Later, when he returned, he found bees had made honey in the lion's carcass, sweetness from something dead. That image would define his life: strength mixed with recklessness, victory mixed with decay. And that honey would become a riddle that would spark a chain reaction of vengeance and blood. Samson wanted a Philistine woman. His parents warned him, "Is there no woman among your own people?" But Samson insisted. At his wedding feast, surrounded by 30 Philistine men, he made a wager. Out of the eater came something to eat. Out of the strong came something sweet. They couldn't solve it, so they threatened his bride. "Find out the answer, or we burn you and your father's house." Fear won. She pressed Samson daily until he finally told her. And when the men answered correctly, Samson knew, "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle." Anger erupted. The spirit rushed upon him again, and 30 Philistines fell. Blood stained the sand. This wasn't deliverance yet. It was escalation. Humiliated and enraged after being betrayed, Samson did something unimaginable. He caught 300 foxes, tied them tail to tail, attached torches, and released them into Philistine grain fields. Fire spread across the countryside. Harvests burned, vineyards destroyed, olive groves turned to ash. The Philistines retaliated by killing his former bride, and Samson retaliated again. Blow after blow, strike after strike, violence spiraled. Eventually, even the Israelites turned against him, afraid of Philistine retaliation. They tied him with ropes and handed him over. But when the Philistines shouted in triumph, something happened. The ropes snapped like burned thread. Samson grabbed the nearest object, the jawbone of a donkey, and with it he struck down 1,000 men. One man, 1,000 enemies. The ground became a battlefield of broken bodies, and Israel Israel had its champion. But Samson had a problem. He believed he was invincible. Years passed. Samson judged Israel for 20 years, yet his heart remained untamed. He visited places he shouldn't, desired what he shouldn't, tested limits he shouldn't test. Strength can win battles, but character wins wars. Then came Delilah. Remember the honey in the lion? Sweetness from something dead. Samson's life looked like a carcass of wasted potential. But even in the ruins, something sweet came out of it. Deliverance, redemption, a final victory. In the valley of Sorek lived a woman named Delilah. The Philistine rulers came to her secretly, seduce him, discover the secret of his strength, and each of us will give you silver. The trap was set. Delilah asked sweetly, "Tell me, Samson, what makes you so strong?" He lied. "If I'm bound with fresh bowstrings, I'll become weak." They bound him. He snapped them. She tried again. New ropes. Again he broke free. Each time she wept. "How can you say you love me? You mock me." Day after day she pressed him. And slowly, dangerously, he moved closer to the truth. Strength makes some people bold. Pride makes them careless. Finally, worn down, Samson told her everything. "No razor has ever touched my head. If my hair is cut, my strength will leave me." That night, as he slept on her lap, she called for a man. The razor sliced, locks fell to the floor, and the covenant was broken. "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." He woke and thought, "I'll shake myself free as before." But he didn't know. The Lord had left him. No strength came. No surge of power. Only hands, chains, darkness. They gouged out his eyes, bound him in bronze shackles, forced him to grind grain like an animal. The mighty warrior became a slave. The champion became entertainment. The strongest man in the world broken. But something quiet was happening. His hair began to grow again. The Philistines gathered in their temple to celebrate. Their god Dagon, they claimed, had delivered Samson into their hands. Thousands filled the temple, lords, nobles, crowds cheering. They brought Samson out to perform, blind, mocked, humiliated. He asked the boy guiding him, "Let me feel the pillars that hold up the temple." He placed one hand on each pillar, and for the first time in the story, Samson prayed, "O Lord God, remember me, strengthen me just once more." Not for glory, not for pride, but for redemption. Strength returned, not his youthful arrogance, but as final purpose. He pushed, stone cracked, columns trembled, the temple roared, and in one thunderous collapse, the building fell. Samson died with his enemies, but in his death, he struck a greater blow than in his life. Samson was chosen, gifted, anointed, but flawed. His life teaches us something uncomfortable. You can be called and still careless, gifted and still undisciplined, strong and still vulnerable. Samson's greatest enemy was never the Philistines, it was himself. Yet even in failure, there was mercy. Even in blindness, there was purpose. Even in chains, there was hope, because God was not finished with him, and maybe He's not finished with you either. We all have strength, talent, opportunity, potential. But what is the one thing that could undo you? Pride, desire, impatience, compromise? Samson shows us that strength without obedience is dangerous. But he also shows us something greater. Failure does not have to be final. His last act wasn't weakness, it was surrender. And in surrender, he found power again. If this story moved you, I want to ask you something. What is your Delilah? What is the one compromise slowly cutting away your strength? Comment below, strength with discipline. Let's remind each other that real power is more than muscle. its character. And if you want more deep, cinematic Bible stories told like this, stories that make ancient words feel alive, subscribe and turn on notifications, because next time we're diving into another legend whose weakness became his greatest weapon. Until then, stay strong, but more importantly, stay faithful.